today's verdict. Let's begin with a global pulse check. The Trump administration rolled out a wave of sanctions against Iran and has given this new stage of warfare a name: Operation Economic Outcast.
But the warnings are not limited to Iran alone. It encompasses countries across the world as Washington threatens secondary sanctions against anyone having economic ties to Iran. The question this raises is whether America's blanket threat paves the way for a global sanctions war, and if at all, Iran can even be an outcast in all of this.
The United States Treasury has sanctioned 60 individuals, entities and vessels. The list encompasses 5 key sectors: digital assets, technology, gold, aviation and shipping. Besant has also threatened to remove entities from the US dollar system if the money is moved on behalf of Iran.
Every country has a defined timeline to shut down activities we have identified. If they do not take action, we will do so unilaterally through Treasury authorities. For example, every branch of Bank Melee must be shuttered and dark. And let me be clear, any entity that facilitates money laundering on behalf of Iran will be removed from the US dollar system. The clock just started ticking.
But the Treasury Secretary's warning has no timeline for threatened penalties against world economies or global organizations. The sanctions notification also stopped short of targeting Chinese financial institutions suspected of facilitating Iran's oil trade. China, remember, is the biggest buyer of Iranian oil and serves as a crucial link to the global economy for Tehran. According to the United States, Beijing accounts for 90% of Tehran's oil exports. Other key trade partners include the UAE, Turkey, Iraq, and even India.
China has previously warned the United States that economic pressure does not resolve disputes, while Scott Bessent mentioned that the United States president is, quote, making phone calls to world leaders with specific requests to cease their interactions with Iran. He did not clarify if China's President Xi Jinping will also be on the list to receive a call from Trump. Iran, on its part, continues to dismiss and even mock American sanctions. Tehran has a history of being on a receiving end of Washington's sanctions since 1979.
But this time, Iran is leveraging something it has not done before. This is the geographical and strategic advantage that Iran has over a crucial choke point, which we have been hearing about and talking about for months now, and that's the Strait of Hormuz. Despite America's big announcements to warn Iran and the pressure that it has been putting on the country to accept Donald Trump's terms, Washington is aware of Tehran's advantages. And because of these advantages, reports suggest that US has nudged Pakistan through its army chief, Asim Munir, to bring Iran back to the negotiating table. Munir is already in Tehran for talks.
Iran has been doing 2 things. Meanwhile, the country's leadership is buying time until midterm elections in the United States and simultaneously also negotiating an arrangement with Oman to manage movement of vessels via the Strait of Hormuz. And so these developments bring back the question, does Trump truly have the leverage he needs to pressurize Iran's leadership, or will the force of this strike be blunted with a new age global sanction war? Let's talk to our guest, Johanna LeBlanc. He's a national security and foreign relations law expert. Is now joining us live. She is now joining us live, excuse me for that, on the broadcast from Washington, D.C. Miss Johanna, thank you very much for making time for us and welcome to the broadcast. Do you think these sanctions will work? And Scott Bessent avoided mentioning China. Do you think something will happen against China?
Thank you so much, Eric, for the invitation. I think that the announcement of these secondary sanctions are essentially designed to extend U.S. economic pressure beyond Iran to third country entities that continue certain transactions with the country. However, as you know, with these sanctions, the United States is also hoping that it will create some kind of discontent in the country by the people of Iran, because Iran as a state is no stranger to sanctions. The United States has imposed sanctions on Iran for more than a decade. So at the end of the day, the people who will be impacted by these sanctions are really the people, right? The ordinary citizens in Iran. So the question is, we know there will be discontent, right? But the question is, will there be discontent towards the United States? Or would it be towards the broader international system? And secondly, I think that the secondary sanctions were imposed because the United States is facing a midterms in November. And as you know, there's a huge affordability crisis in the country at this moment. We are looking at a $40 trillion a debt ceiling at this moment, and groceries are high, gas is high as a result of this war. So this is a measure to please the American people and to show to the American people that the United States is taking all the necessary measures to put an end to this conflict. But I don't think this is sufficient. I believe that it will take more than the imposition of these secondary sanctions to find a resolution to this conflict.
Yana, which is what, I was asking next. What would it be that would get Iran back to the negotiating table? This is something that United States has been trying for a while now. Iran refuses to budge from its stance. And now the Donald Trump administration looks almost desperate to end this war quickly, resorting to secondary sanctions, having these kinds of announcements time and again, back from military to economic sanctions, now economic steps to sort of control Iran. But what would it be that would really get Iran back to the negotiating table and agree to the American demands?
I think it's in the best interest of the United States to get Iran back to the table, to the negotiation table. As you know, with the midterms coming up in November, the Democrats are scheduled to take over the House and possibly the Senate. So the Republicans are very concerned about the kind of power that the president will have, because when you have a president at the White House and does not have the House nor the Senate to push some of its policies from the legislative branch, it makes it very difficult. So what I do think the United States will need is the United States will need support from allied nations to bring Iran back to the table. As you mentioned earlier, Pakistan is supporting the United States. This is not something the U.S. can do by itself. The United States is going to need to rely and get the support of the international community to find a resolution to this conflict. Because again, the fact of the matter is that Iran is no stranger to these sanctions. Iran, and because of different methods that countries have to bypass some of these sanctions sometimes, Iran can very well survive under these various secondary and primary economic sanctions. But the American people are very concerned because of the affordability crisis. I think that's the main objective here, and that's the issue that is pushing the United States to really find a resolution to this conflict.
Quickly, before we let you go, isn't it sort of convenient and almost unfair on the allies of America to be helping out United States in a war that it started on its own? It never asked the allies that time. Now it's asking for help from the allies.
Absolutely. I think you do have a point, but at the end of the day, we are a global village. It is an international community, and we all belong to this community together. So if there is escalation of a potential if this continues to escalate, I think everybody will be impacted in the entire world, because as we know, our economies are gravely interconnected, and certainly the Strait of Hormuz, which just about every country in the world benefits from it. So I think it is in the interest of the entire nation, the international community, to work with the United States and help find some kind of resolution to this conflict and put an end to it. Because at the end of the day, the people who are really impacted are not the politicians. It is really the American people, and certainly the people of Iran and people from all over the world.
Well, let's see how this economic outcast by President Trump will pan out eventually for Iran and also for the globe. But Ms. Johanna LeBlanc, thank you very much for your insights and for talking to us today.
Thank you.
All right, with that, let's move on. For the past 6 months, American forces remain deployed on war footing in West Asia. The soldiers and machines are being put to the ultimate test. On land bases across the region, soldiers are living under the shadow of Iran's retaliatory fire.
Behind the metal walls of naval destroyers and massive aircraft carriers, tolerance of American military might is being pushed to the limits. Due to prolonged deployment, sailors are reportedly facing quality of life problems. Back in Washington, Democratic senators are now demanding immediate and independent strategic review of quality of life issues aboard Navy ships participating in the standoff with Iran. According to a letter accessed by CNN, the lawmakers asked War Secretary Pete Hegseth and Acting Navy Secretary Hang Kao to conduct the review of recent deployments of U.S. naval assets. Top Democrats on the Senate Appropriations Committee, Vice Chair Patty Murray and Defense Panel Member Chris Coons are pushing for the investigation.
At Donald Trump's command, 3 U.S. aircraft carriers, Abraham Lincoln, Gerald R. Ford and George H.W. Bush, have been deployed at West Asia at different intervals and fronts. Out of all 3, Abraham Lincoln spent the highest number of days at sea without a port call. After 274 days of active deployment, it is now headed to San Diego.
The aircraft carrier will be replaced by George H.W. Bush. USS Abraham Lincoln departed Iran war theater amid concerning reports. Some family members of the crew raised concerns about living conditions and reported that sailors also attempted to throw themselves overboard. Pentagon denied these claims and called the reports misleading.
Well, the USS Gerald R. Ford also completed record deployment in combat operations in Venezuela and Iran in one entire stretch before returning to Norfolk in May 2026. During the Iran war deployment, a fire broke out in Ford's laundry department, which took 30 hours to defeat. It also faced chronic plumbing and sewage-related challenges.
Despite difficulties and push from Democrats, a statement by U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth makes it clear that U.S. forces will continue to maintain high-level deployment around Iran.
Is it fair to say kinetic strikes are on a pause right now, or do you?
No. If we need to use kinetic strikes, we'll use them. If Iran is foolish enough to overplay their hand or mess with the American military, we'll do what we need to do. But economic pressure, we know, hurts them the most right now. But by no means are we foreclosing using kinetic strikes anywhere in the Strait of Hormuz or around Iran.
United States continues its strategy of sanctions, blockade, talks and threats. But military assets that Washington had at its disposal at the peak of the Iran war are no longer the same. Machines seem to have worn out and sailors need to recover before they return to maintain the attacking posture once again against Iran.
From what's happening in Iran and the United States, Washington, D.C., let's now head to Ukraine. Ukraine needs air defenses. Relentless Russian missile attacks have depleted the country's interceptors, and new ones are taking time to arrive. Its largest supply of arms, the United States, remains entangled in the Iranian war.
But in these desperate times, Western allies have come out in Ukraine's support under the flag of Coalition of the Willing. As Ukraine marked its 5th consecutive Independence Day under the shadow of the war, leaders of the alliance came together to pledge support for the country, defying Putin's warning against deepening their involvement in the conflict. But even as Western allies reaffirmed their support, Russia's air campaign continued. Russian ballistic missile strikes ripped through apartment blocks in Kiev. Air defense was at the top of the agenda in a gathering of Coalition of the Willing in Kiev. British Prime Minister Andy Burnham made his debut on international arena with a message for the Russian president. He said that Ukraine will not be forced to give up territory that Russia had failed to take on the battlefield.
The British Prime Minister also announced a significant step towards boosting Ukraine's long-range strike capabilities. The British government is authorizing release of classified information for production of the long-range Storm Shadow Scalp missile in Ukraine. Finnish President Alexander Stubb said partners must unite Ukraine to expand its ability to strike deeply inside Russia. The move irked the Kremlin. It accused London of undermining peace efforts and threatened to target and destroy facilities producing the missiles in Ukraine.
Given the stance adopted by Western nations, and we have just discussed the statements made by President Alexander Stubb and successive British Prime Ministers, it is evident that this belligerent, aggressive line toward our country persists. Consequently, we must take measures. We must ensure our own security.
Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky told the leaders that the situation remains extremely difficult, but said that Ukraine is being held up by the strength of its alliances. Zelensky also called for more funding to expand Ukraine's production of drones and missiles. There was a concrete financial commitment as well from the European Union. The EU announced another 6.1 billion euros in military aid for Ukraine, with air defense as a key priority. The funding, remember, forms part of a 90 billion euro loan package for Ukraine, including 60 billion euros in military assistance.
The most pressing issue for Kiev is not lack of funds, it is lack of supplies. Ukraine depends heavily on advanced systems, particularly US-made Patriot interceptors, to protect its cities from Russia's ballistic missiles. President Zelensky says deliveries of Patriot interceptors have fallen sharply. Ukraine received 675 interceptor missiles in 2023. That number fell to 364 in 2025, and Kyiv currently expects just 264 in 2026. Zelensky says Ukraine needs at least 300 interceptors for the coming winter. On the offensive front, Ukraine has targeted Russia's energy facilities in recent months. President Putin had earlier accused Kiev of opening a Pandora's box by targeting Russia's economy. He vowed further escalation, including against Ukrainian agriculture. With Russian ballistic missile attacks intensifying and Kyiv warning of a critical air defense shortage, Coalition of the Willing shows two things: solidarity in Ukraine's defiance and its dependence on allies to keep fighting the war.
All right, with that, let's get to the breaking news that's coming in at the moment. India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval has held a meeting with China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi. Remember, this was the 25th meeting of the special representatives on the China-India boundary question. Following the meeting, China has now released a statement, and it states that China and India are important neighbors to each other, as well as major developing countries and representatives of emerging economies. Wang Yi has gone on to say, and I quote him, China-India relations have gone beyond the bilateral scope and carry global and strategic significance. In recent years, President Xi Jinping and Prime Minister Narendra Modi, remember, held two meetings, one in Kazan and the other one in Tianjin, reaching a series of important consensus that pointed the way for the improvement and development of bilateral relations. Wang Yi has also said that China is ready to work with India to approach bilateral relations from a strategic height and long-term perspective, strengthen communication, enhance mutual understanding, eliminate differences, overcome obstacles, and become good neighbors and friends of amity, as well as partners for mutual success, so as to realize the dance of the dragon and the elephant. So that's the first statement that has come in from the Chinese side after this big meeting between Ajit Doval and Wang Yi. Let me quickly go across to our Assistant Editor for Foreign Affairs, Siddhant Sibbal. He's joining us with more details. Siddhant, finally that much expected and a very significant meeting now happening between India's National Security Advisor and the Chinese Foreign Minister. Get us more details. The Chinese side has put its side and its version of what happened in that meeting. Get us more details of what you're hearing.
Well, So far, positive comments were for both sides, and we're waiting for the Indian readout as well. Now, if I go by the Chinese readout, it says that India and China have agreed for a fair, mutually acceptable package solution to border dispute. Now, this is significant indeed. Of course, it's still awaited for the Indian readout, but a mutually acceptable package is something that both sides have been hoping for years now. Will it happen this time? That's a big question. Last year, when the SI level talks happened, they decided to form an expert group which focused on an early harvest when it comes to the border dispute. Now, early harvest, it's an important comment, but what does it mean is something that's yet to be defined as well. Now, of course, the meetings happen at a time when we know that Indian side is preparing for the Chinese President Xi Jinping's visit to India after a gap of 7 years. In fact, Wang Yi used the term, something that we have heard so often, calling dragon and elephant dance together. And this is a comment used by the Chinese leadership off and on. Now, of course, India has also pointed out about a substantive economic relationship. In fact, recently at an economic conclave, the Indian External Affairs Minister pointed to economic aspect, but also saying that border, what happens at the border, the state of the border decides the state of the relationship as well. So, important commentary coming up, but this is an evolving situation right now. We're waiting for the Indian readout.
Right, Siddhant, thanks very much for joining us with those details. So we are awaiting the Indian press release after this crucial meeting that has taken place between Ajit Doval and Wang Yi. Those are the visuals that have emerged out of Beijing. The first statement has come in from the Chinese side, some positive developments as far as the bilateral relationship is concerned. Also, both sides looking towards resolving the border dispute as soon as possible.
Well, let's move away from that. And President Trump has done many things in his second term that he slammed Biden and Obama for doing. He has started a war, mollycoddled or coddled Pakistan, and mainstreamed those once considered untouchable. The U.S. has removed Syria from its list of state sponsors of terrorism after 47 years, a move Damascus says was the removal of the final barrier to investments in the country.
Today, Syria shakes off a dark stain and tears away a painful chapter of its past to embark on a path of development, reconstruction and rebuilding. Great people of Syria, you have done it again. The sanctions against you have been lifted and the restrictions removed. I ask Almighty God to help us serve you. I extend my sincere thanks to US President Donald Trump and to all the friendly and supportive nations that stood by us.
Ahmad al-Shara's jubilation is not without sound reason. Remember, he has achieved in less than 2 years what the al-Assad dynasty could not do in 50 years. The US put Syria on state-sponsored terror list back in 1979 at the peak of Hafez al-Assad's rule in Syria. The country stayed on that list ever since. Now, a man who once had American bounty on his head has been embraced by the White House itself. Ahmad al-Shara served as head of Al-Qaeda offshoot Al-Nusra Front, which was designated as a global terror group. While Shara reportedly snapped ties with Al-Qaeda in 2016, his group, Al-Nusra, stayed on that terror list even in its new avatar as Hayat Tahrir al-Sham or HTS.
Shara ditched his combat fatigues for sharp suits after HTS-led offensive ended in the fall of Assad regime. He got global attention when he entered the presidential palace in Damascus after Bashar al-Assad fled to Russia. For Trump, this was the moment he was looking for. This was an opportunity beyond optics, a real chance to negate Iran's influence and Israel's challenges. A historic meeting at the White House in 2025 paved the way for this day. For the US president grappling with multiple challenges, this development presents myriad of objectives. Firstly, it allows President Trump to keep oil and rich, strategically important country in Western orbit instead of falling into Russian sphere of influence. Secondly, it disrupts Iran's supply corridors to its proxies in the region, most importantly, the Hezbollah. Thirdly, it gives Washington much needed support in its fight against ISIS. While ISIS has lost much of the territory it once held, it still remains active in eastern Syria. The ISIS and its affiliates still exert influence in Kurdish regions across borders of Iraq, Turkey, and Syria. Most importantly, with sanctions lifted, crucial NATO ally Turkey will not only be able to anchor investments in the country, but also hope for stability at its southeastern borders. Syria's economic recovery would also pave way for Damascus acting as a buffer between Turkey and Israel. Recent high-level talks between Syrian Foreign Minister and Mossad chief indicate Syria's serious desire for diffusing tensions at both its borders.
While Syria and Turkey rejoice over future prospects of the American decision, for the president himself, it is a moment to celebrate. This marks a rare bipartisan congressional support for one of his decisions over the past 2 years, allowing him to genuinely claim a victory in West Asia, unlike his war with Iran.
Even as the news headlines were being dominated by Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's claims of Iranian plot to assassinate his son, another son is also allegedly on Iran's radar, Barron Trump. The U.S. Secret Service, in a stunning revelation, has indicated that it is aware of videos being aired on Iranian state TV which appear to threaten Donald Trump's youngest son, Barron.
The Secret Service spokesperson, Nate Herring, in a statement said, and I quote, "Secret Service is aware of the video and investigates anything that can be perceived as a threat toward our protectees. Out of concern for operational security, we do not discuss matters of protective intelligence." While the Secret Service has declined to reveal the details, multiple reports indicate that the video has been created following inputs from a girl who once sat next to Barron Trump in a private meeting. Reportedly, this video indicates IRGC offering a $10 million bounty for the 20-year-old. The video claimed that Barron communicates through voice and text on Xbox away from his security, and that his accounts on Xbox, FIFA video games, and Discord had been uncovered. 20-year-old Barron Trump, who is Donald Trump's youngest son with wife Melania, has often been seen with his father at public and ceremonial events. Barron is a college student at the New York University and an investor who's involved in cryptocurrency and business projects. He also reportedly played a key role in starting the World Liberty Financial, the Trump family-linked company in eye of the political storm. The revelations about Barron Trump have shortly been done after Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu claimed an Iranian plot to assassinate one of his sons.
Netanyahu said the attack was incredible as he answered questions on the broader issue of the security arrangements of political figures as well as his family. Netanyahu has two sons, Yair and Avner. Yair Netanyahu, who is 35 years old and the older of the two sons, has stayed in Miami for long durations of time since 2024 and reportedly has been receiving protective services from Shin Bet. Avner keeps a low profile and stays in Israel. The Israeli Prime Minister gave no details about when the alleged plot took place, which son was targeted, or how close it came to being carried out. Shortly after Netanyahu's remarks became public, Israeli media claimed that the alleged assassination attempt had been known for months, but was subject to a gag order. Time now to focus our attention to Asia, and we begin in Pakistan. Is Pakistan's Asim Munir losing trust among his own citizens, from the Islamic cleric Maulana Fazlur Rahman to the protests in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir to a university campus and a military-run medical camp? The last few weeks have put the spotlight on the growing discontent among citizens with the Pakistani army.
Well, Pakistan's military has long been the country's most powerful institution, but is that power now producing something that the establishment has historically worked hard to prevent, which is an open backlash against the army? Well, the latest events serve as glaring examples. The power tussle between the army and former Prime Minister Imran Khan's PTI party has been deepening and leading to more disdain for the army. Even though the PTI said that they would not confront Asim Munir if Imran Khan is released, they still plan to hold a nationwide protest march on the 27th of September demanding his release. Then, Jamiat Ulema Islam chief Maulana Fazlur Rahman has repeatedly challenged Asim Munir, even reminding him of Pakistan's 1971 defeat to India and questioning the army's political role, a criticism that earlier used to come only from former Prime Minister Imran Khan's loyalists. He even cited India's example, saying while India has become the fourth largest economy, Pakistan stands nowhere.
Let us take a proper look. Today, India has become the world's fourth largest economy and the owner of foreign exchange reserves of $600 to $700 billion. And where do we stand?
Just a day ago, an army officer reportedly fired shots into the air during a student protest at Sarhad University in Peshawar. The incident is already generating public scrutiny. Pakistan has witnessed anti-military protests before, most dramatically after Imran Khan's arrest in 2023 when military installations were attacked. But now political opponents, religious leaders, activists and sections of society are increasingly questioning the military's stance on certain issues and its role in the country's politics itself. Asim Munir is simultaneously exercising enormous control at home while attempting to play peacemaker abroad. But his own backyard has been burning. The protests in Balochistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir have exposed the deep distrust that locals in border regions have against Munir and his army. The brutal crackdown by the military has only made the conflict worse, with authorities unable to either fulfill the demands or quell the protests.
In the rest of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, locals reportedly forced Pakistan Army personnel to leave the area during protests against a military-run medical camp. Residents said they did not want the camp. They alleged that the military presence had coincided with growing insecurity and militant attacks in the region. The tensions have also spilled into Muzaffarabad. Protesters have taken to the streets with roads blocked at several locations. In fact, in the latest, one police officer and a soldier have been killed in Balochistan's Chagai, while civilians and army reportedly clashed at Banu in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. While citizens face severe inflation and economic instability, they are now beginning to question Pakistani Army's secret manner of operating.
The ruling Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz, or PMLN, has remained publicly silent so far after two of its coalition partners backed Interior Minister Mohsin Naqvi's call to create new administrative units or provinces. Mohsin is considered close to Pakistani military, and his statement on new provinces has thrown open the debate on how the country must be ruled and why public opinion is not being considered in such an important move. The big question now is, will Asim Munir let dissenting voices have their say, or will they meet the same fate as anyone who has gone against the Pakistani army in the past?
All right, with that, it's time for a short break. News and analysis continues on the other side. Stay tuned.
No matter what your day throws at you, stay in the spa state of mind with the Kohler Spa at home.
The architecture of war is changing. Geography is no longer a shield. The battlefield now stretches from sea to space. New weapons, new technologies, new theaters of conflict. From the factory floor to the firing range, from India's frontiers to the world's biggest defense exhibitions. Meet the veterans, industry stalwarts and innovators as India builds its military capabilities. Your 360-degree insight into the future of warfare. Watch Defense Pulse with me, Shivan Chandra.
No matter what your day throws at you, stay in the spa state of mind with the Kohler Spa at home.
In-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures, and simple words. Backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter, because we believe in decoding the real picture for you. Week after week, creating the maximum impact. Watch WION Wide Angle at these times on WION. World is One.
No matter what your day throws at you, stay in the spa state of mind with the Kohler Spa at home.
In the last 12 months, India's defense technology has taken some big steps forward. INS Mahendragiri is bringing stealth, sensors and networked systems to the sea. Rustam is giving the forces an unmanned eye that can stay aloft for hours. And INS Malwan is designed to hunt submarines in shallow coastal waters. How do you stop a swarm of drones? That is where Bhargavastra comes in. India's indigenous counter-drone system is designed to detect and deal with unmanned aerial threats, including multiple drones approaching a protected area. But the threat is not always in the sky. Out at sea, India needs warships.
Welcome back to WION World is One. We are glad you're watching. Time now to focus our attention to what is happening in India.
Well, India, the world's largest democracy, is gearing up to count its population for the first time in 16 years. After a 5-year pause due to the COVID pandemic, the decennial census is all set to resume.
But the exercise has already triggered a political controversy. Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge and leader of opposition Rahul Gandhi have written a joint letter to Prime Minister Narendra Modi questioning the decision to use open-ended questions to record caste details.
Well, in the letter written in Hindi, the Congress leaders argue that the move will render the data obtained from the caste census useless. Kharge and Gandhi argue that instead of allowing people to record caste names freely, the government should prepare a fixed list of castes, allowing enumerators to record answers against this list. At the heart of this debate lies a simple question. How do you record castes in a country where the same caste can have different names, subcastes and spellings in different parts of the country? The Congress leaders argue if people from the same caste are recorded under different names, one caste could end up being counted as several different groups, and this would defeat the very purpose of a caste census. In their letter, Kharge and Rahul Gandhi cite examples of similar surveys conducted in Telangana and Bihar using caste lists.
प्रधानमंत्री का कोई इरादा नहीं है ईमानदारी से ठीक ढंग से ये जाति जनगणना कराया जाए। इनकी कोई मंशा नहीं है। इसको एक तरीके से आप कह सकते हैं सेल्फ सबोटाज है। खुद इसको बेमतलबी जनगणना बना रहे हैं।
Earlier this month, the Ministry of Home Affairs had released a Gazette notification revealing a list of questions that will be asked during the exercise. The 2027 census will have 40 questions compared to 29 last time. Among the most significant additions is a question on caste. Every census since independence has separately counted scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. But this time, caste data will be collected from every individual. It also includes a question on nationality, which the previous census did not have. Other additions are place of COVID vaccination, information about mobile number, Aadhaar number, and voter ID number. The Congress has now demanded the government to scrap the current questionnaire and prepare a new one. Another point of contention is the absence of a nationwide list of all castes and subcastes. For instance, take the other backward classes or OBC community. The Central OBC list has 2,749 entries, but states have their own OBC lists. A state like Tamil Nadu has 182 OBC entries on the central list, but 252 entries on its state list. Similar discrepancies exist across all states, which makes counting castes accurately a Herculean task.
The issue of caste has been a political hot potato in India. Political parties and civil society groups have repeatedly asked the government to conduct caste census. Those in favor of the exercise argue that it is important to address social inequality, ensure equal distribution of resources, and monitor the effectiveness of affirmative action. On the other hand, critics of the caste census claim that it reinforces the caste system and leads to further social divisions. Whichever side of the debate you stand on, the contentious question of caste is set to make its debut in the 2027 census, and by the looks of it, it is set to be yet another political flashpoint between the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party and the opposition Congress.
Nirja Chaudhary, political commentator and senior journalist, is now joining us live from New Delhi. Chaudhary, thank you very much for your time and welcome to the broadcast. Do you think the opposition has a point when it says that the government should eliminate the questionnaire on caste?
Yeah, but they are saying rework on it because at the moment it's not specific enough, the caste question, without, giving categories of what caste you are, you belong to. You can give your caste name. People will just say, I am Dhivar, I'm Modi, I'm, Teli, I'm, it may not, or just a caste name. And where does it all go? It may lead to, there are 3,000 castes in India. There are at the level 25,000 what are called subcastes. And then there are the regional wise divisions. So that it's a mind-boggling number. And what also happens is that a caste in one state may be an OBC, other backward classes, which have affirmative action provided for them. And in another state, they may not belong to, they may be forward caste, upper caste, and may not be eligible for that. For instance, the caste of Modi is an other backward class in the state of Gujarat, but in some other state, it may not be. It's a trading community. So this kind of discrepancy, paradox, it's going to be, as I say, mind-boggling exercise. And the opposition parties are saying, streamline it. If the purpose of the whole exercise is to numerically know what castes and which castes and how many, what the numbers, from the point of view essentially of providing them programs that will help them or affirmative action to which they are eligible, then you need to categorize them in broader categories, like the other backward classes, the scheduled caste belonging to, those who are outside the caste system and were formerly called the untouchables, and so on. Now, the problem is the deadlock between the ruling side and the opposition. So you don't have an LOP who can pick up the phone and talk to the Prime Minister and say, look, this is not working. Let's think of a new formula and we'll come back to the table on you and work this out. That seems not to be possible because each one of them have their own agenda that they are pursuing politically. Okay. And I must add, give me, if you have half a minute, that the other backward classes and the scheduled castes and the women and minorities are very much a potential vote bank that the Congress party in the opposition is eyeing for the forthcoming elections in the state in 2027 and the general elections in 2029. So this exercise is not just a mere exercise. It's also with both sides keeping an eye on elections in the future.
And so, Neerja, because both sides are keeping a close eye on this particular census, wouldn't it benefit both sides if, the caste census remains, the questionnaire remains, but perhaps in a different format, in a different avatar? Maybe, the government and authorities can work on something like, having a subcategory to that caste or different names that one caste has. Can we have that option?
Well, you can. Theoretically, of course, you can. But you see, for instance, the ruling party, the BJP, has a following amongst the other backward classes as well as the upper caste. So it has to do a tightrope walk. The Congress party is trying to create a new constituency, a new narrative around as the other backward classes and the lower castes and the minorities, etc., etc. So their goals are different at the moment. Whose allegiance they are trying to win and who they cannot afford to let go of. So I think, theoretically, yes, it is there are the sensible things to do, but politically more difficult to swing.
Okay. All right. Ms. Chaudhary, thank you very much for your insights. We'll have to leave it there and see how this census will be conducted in India. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, with that, let's shift our focus to what India's youth are asking, Eric. They are continuing to step out on the streets for reforms in competitive examinations. First, it was Jantar Mantar in the national capital, then Jharkhand's capital, Ranchi, erupted in anger for weeks. And now the tide has reached Bihar's capital, Patna, where government job aspirants are demanding transparency in recruitment exams and the cancellation of the Bihar Public Service Examination amid allegations of irregularities and paper leaks.
Well, students organized a march from Gandhi Maidan to Raj Bhavan. Police had barricaded the route to prevent the protesters from entering the restricted area. But the situation turned chaotic when student protesters breached the barricading, prompting police to use water cannons to disperse the crowd.
Our demand is that the education system in Bihar must be improved. We are raising issues regarding the frequent exam paper leaks in the state.
The agitation comes amid allegations of irregularities and paper leaks in the examination process. Apart from cancellation of the 70th BPSC examination, students are also demanding changes to the proposed teacher recruitment exam. They want negative marking to be abolished and demand the TRE to be conducted as a single examination across the state instead of the proposed 2 phases.
Meanwhile, Bihar leader of opposition Tejasvi Yadav has written to Chief Minister Samrat Chaudhary urging the government to engage with the protesters. He has also called for greater transparency in competitive examinations, including BPSC, BSSC, and police recruitment. As students continue to demand action, the State Education Minister said that the government has resolved every issue raised by the youth.
We have met almost all the students' demands. For any students who wish to convey further points to the government, the doors for dialogue remain wide open. Let the students come, talk, and get their issues resolved. The government belongs to them.
However, the protesters said the concerns had not been fully resolved and that there is no visible action to prevent paper leaks and delayed recruitments. Students have vowed to continue to protest until all of their demands are fully met by the government.
We have some more breaking news, this time coming from the United States, and U.S. Central Intelligence Agency Director John Ratcliffe is reportedly on a visit to Moscow. No official statement has been made on this by either White House or the CIA on this secret trip by Ratcliffe. This is his first known visit to Russia as CIA chief. These details come hours after reports of an American Boeing C-17, a Globemaster III military transport aircraft, landed in Russia, and that's according to online air traffic monitoring systems. However, the Kremlin earlier said it had no information on the U.S. military transport airplane that landed at Moscow's Vnukovo airport early in the day. According to available data, the aircraft, which departed from Andrews Air Force Base near Washington, made a stop in Riga before arriving in Moscow. According to Russian news agency TASS, a source within EU air traffic control authorities told the agency that the plane, having originally flown from Andrews Air Force Base to Latvia, had indeed continued its journey towards the Russian border. This development follows important developments on two separate war fronts: the latest sanctions by the US on Iran and threat to Iran's economic partners. Secondly, the visit also comes amid stalled talks on the Russia-Ukraine war and the latest boost of support for Kyiv by the coalition of the willing.
All right, shifting our focus now, Tamil Nadu's Finance Minister N. Mary Wilson has alleged that he was forced to pay a bribe to the school education department during the previous DMK government. These remarks have triggered a fresh row over corruption in the state. Speaking in the Tamil Nadu Assembly, Wilson alleged that the school education department collected money from private schools under the previous DMK government. He then went on to allege that he himself had to pay
a bribe for approvals related to his educational institutions at a location in Chennai's T. Nagar. Wilson's remarks triggered a fierce war of words in the Assembly. DMK MLA Anbil Mahesh, who was the school education minister under the previous DMK government, accused the TVK minister of making baseless claims out of personal vendetta. Calling Wilson's charge a grave mistake, the DMK leader called for a probe by the state's anti-corruption watchdog. The former minister alleged that Wilson's allegations were retaliation for legal action taken against his educational institutions in December last year.
Separately, TVK MLA Kanimori Santosh has alleged that ahead of the assembly polls, she was offered 15 lakh rupees by the DMK to record a video predicting DMK's victory and put it on YouTube. She also claimed to have an audio recording of the conversation. The allegations are the latest in a series of claims and counterclaims over bribery and corruption in the state. Both the DMK and the TVK have accused each other of bribing legislators and indulging in horse trading.
For nearly 8 decades, Pakistan's military has been more than an army. It has been the institution that could make governments, break governments, and more often run the country itself. But today, that aura of invisibility is being challenged, and increasingly, the challenge is coming from inside Pakistan. Maulana Fazlur Rahman, hardly an outsider to Pakistan's political establishment, is openly questioning Army Chief Asim Munir, even invoking the humiliation of 1971 and asking the general to remember what happened when military power failed to hold the country together. Across Pakistan, political, regional, and social discontent is putting pressure on an establishment that has long demanded obedience. From unrest in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir to growing political confrontation, the question is no longer simply whether Pakistan's military can control dissent. It is whether it can control the narrative, because history is not kind to generals who mistake command of the army for command of the nation. Ayub Khan seized power. Yahya Khan inherited that military dominance and presided over the catastrophe of 1971 and the birth of Bangladesh. Zia-ul-Haq turned another coup into years of military dictatorship, and Pervez Musharraf once again marched the army into politics, seizing power in 1991 before eventually being forced out amid mounting political and institutional pressure. Now, Asim Munir stands at another crossroads. His powers have expanded dramatically, including constitutional changes that strengthened the military chief's position and drew accusations of authoritarianism. And that is where Pakistan's real battle lies. Not with India, not with another foreign enemy, but with the question of whether Pakistan can remain one country when the people, the political parties, the military power are all pulling in different directions. So here is the verdict. General Asim Munir may command Pakistan's most powerful institution, but if people begin challenging the institution itself, no uniform, however decorated, can command their consent forever. And history has already shown Pakistan what happens when generals forget that distinction.
And well, with that, it's a wrap on Race to Power tonight. Thanks very much for joining us. News and analysis continue on WION. Bye-bye.
No matter what your day throws at you, stay in the spa state of mind with the Cola Spa at home.
The architecture of war is changing. Geography is no longer a shield. The battlefield now stretches from sea to space. New weapons, new technologies, new theaters of conflict. From the factory floor to the firing range, from India's frontiers to the world's biggest defense exhibitions. Meet the veterans, industry stalwarts and innovators as India builds its military capabilities. Your 360-degree insight into the future of warfare. Watch Defense Pulse with me, Shivan Chandra.
No matter what your day throws at you, stay in the spa state of mind with the Cola Spa at home.
In-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures, and simple words. Backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter, because we believe in decoding the real picture for you. Week after week, creating the maximum impact. Watch WION Wide Angle at these times on WION World is One.
No matter what your day throws at you, stay in the spa state of mind with the Cola Spa at home.
French football turns the page. Zinedine Zidane is the new head coach of Les Bleus. The French Football Federation has officially named Zidane as successor to Didier Deschamps, who steps down after 14 years in charge. For France, this is more than an appointment. It's the return of a national icon. Zidane was the heartbeat of France's 1998 World Cup triumph, scoring twice in the final against Brazil. He went on to